If you're a business owner or entrepreneur, then you know how to hustle. You show up every day, you put in the work, and you dedicate yourself day in and day out to making that amazing dream come true. But building a brand doesn't always go as planned. Sometimes it feels like no matter how hard you try, you just can't get past a certain block, fix a specific problem, or take that next step on a daunting project. How do you get yourself from where you are to where you want to be? That's when you ask Amanda. Hi, I'm Amanda Benson-Tilch of Ask Amanda, a boutique consulting firm driven by passion and good ideas. I help solve everyday problems for the small business owner, from customer service to marketing to goal setting. I've never met a client I wasn't able to help, because if I can't solve your problem myself, I'll connect you to the person who can. Are you ready to finally break through your toughest problems? Visit AskAmandaConsulting.com to see how I can help. Because if you ask me, you'll get a solution.
Welcome to the Ask Amanda Show, where we solve everyday problems for the small business owner. Get nuggets of inspiration, access to experts, and answers to those burning questions preventing you from growth. Here's your host, Amanda Benson-Tilch.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Ask Amanda Show. I am sitting here today with somebody very coveted to me because although we are somewhat new friends, we are fast friends. This is Selina Thomas. She is SCV's HR guru, yes, if I can say that, yes, right? Exactly right. And I asked Selina to be on the show because she really provides a service that I truly believe you guys are going to find a ton of helpful information in, that you're going to be able to probably be calling her and asking her to help you with some of these things like employee handbooks and some other training and compliances, but we're going to get into that in a second. First of all, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. I was so excited. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Let me tell you guys a little bit more about Selina Thomas. She is the owner and founder of 6 Degrees HR Consulting. Selina is a seasoned professional with 15 years of human resource experience. She is a proven compliance and safety specialist with an emphasis on human resources, infrastructure, and business development. Her specialties, are you ready? This is why you guys need to know her, are human resources coordinator, obviously, HR compliance, employee relations, and a strategic partner. And the main reason why I wanted to have you on the show, not just because of everything that's going on in the world this last year, but because I do believe that our audience, which is small business owners, they don't necessarily always know how to do certain things in their business because they're too busy as the owner and, technician. Yeah, right, doing the marketing or whatever. But there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that keep people, healthy in their business.
The people part.
And so that's why I wanted to have you on. And maybe before we get started with all of my crazy questions, let's share with the audience a little bit about what made you start your own business and why HR.
Well, the people parts first. I always tell people when I work with them, the humans first in HR. And prior to being in HR, I was a social worker, but it was an area that I struggled with in terms of what I saw daily. Okay. And I had to find another way to deal with humans without the underbelly side. And moving into the business sector and allowing myself to be a part of a positive in the skill set that I have, it was an easy transition for me. So I started my company, True Story, out of a Starbucks on Copper Hill in Seco. A lot of people still remember me from that era, just sitting with my computer and meeting new employers that also didn't have a brick and mortar. Right. They were still starting. And so I literally.
That's what Starbucks was, everybody's home office.
Yeah. And the baristas were like, hey, you have a customer, they're just. So it was really cool that, people got to know me in that way. But also I knew well enough within a year that I needed to position myself with people that worked with employers. And so that's the reason why I moved into the Pool Chaffrey Kegley building. It's not their building, but this is where they are. I'm on the 3rd floor. They're on the 1st floor.
Connected.
I needed to be connected. That's the premise of 6 Degrees, right? 6 Degrees is a global concept.
Love it.
Everyone on the planet is connected by 6 people, right?
I love that.
In this community, especially in the business community, it's 1 to 2 degrees.
Yeah.
So it was really quick. Like, we became fast friends. It was really quick that people got to understand what 6 Degrees brought to the table in terms of their business. And so it grew, and then of course I had to build and grind, and
Yeah.
this is all pre-COVID, and so I was really rooted by the time the crisis hit, and then I truly expanded when the crisis hit.
Your services, like
Absolutely.
and then
Everyone needed HR.
And then your clientele base,
Yeah, I grew exponentially during the crisis because people that didn't think that they needed HR when I was networking at VIA and Chamber realized that they could not reopen, or even be shuttered without it.
Yeah.
And so 6 Degrees then became that partner.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because you know, I'm a huge networker. I think networking is a big part of like how you grow your clientele, your database, but also just your reputation, 100%. So a lot of these people remembered you from meeting you at a networking event, and then come a crisis, they pull your number out and call you. Which is fantastic. That tells me that you did a really good job networking, and it made people remember the services that you offer and what they were lacking. And let's talk a little bit more about that too, because what is the benefit of outsource? Like larger companies have their own HR in-house. What's the benefit of outsourcing HR?
Well, two things. The expense. There's small doctor's offices that they don't have the need for an HR lady on site, but they need HR. They still need the infrastructure. They still need a handbook. They still need employee files. They still need the ongoing training. And HR truly builds the company culture. So it really is kind of like the skeletal part, and then you're building around it. And so people realize that when they were, you start your company in the carts before the horse kind of thing, and then they realize, oh my God, I'm having an employee issue. Who do I call? How do I navigate this? So that was one, the expense. But then the other part was that people realized too that even those that have in-house HR, it's good to have a neutral outsourced person. Someone that doesn't have a dog in the fight, skin in the game.
Doesn't have relationships, maybe
they don't know the
personal
people or the
relationships with
politics.
people.
And so it's important that you have a resource for that. And so oftentimes, like Brian Kegley will call me and say, I have a client that has in-house, but they want to have a perspective from a third party that is a practitioner, that is trusted. And so those things are also valuable to people that are larger companies. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. I mean, to be able to be that resourceful, I guess. So people can hire you on a contract base?
They can hire me as on a retainer base. And I do their ongoing, or just like I just recently did for another client, came in, did a workplace investigation as a third party, handed them the report, and they took it from there.
And that's it, That's like, so your services are obviously not only needed, but pretty vast. They cover a lot. What about reducing, let's talk a little bit about reducing workforce like turnover and stuff. So like how you can become helpful in like retention.
So the crisis now is that we don't have enough workforce that's out there. And so some of the gaps that I feel is helping people connect, right?
Okay.
Oh, do you have a resource for someone that's an administrative? And people will send me their resumes all the time, or they'll ask me as that third party to post at COC on the job board for 6 Degrees. They don't want anyone to know that they're hiring yet internally. They would rather have the third party post it. And then the applications and the resumes come to me. We vet them. We have a private conversation. So there's a lot of reasons to use a third party.
Oh yeah, so you do like recruiting, a little bit of interviewing and stuff as well. Yeah, and vetting. That's great. Yeah. And then if it doesn't work out for that particular company, now those people are in like your database. Yeah.
And so I have people in the pipeline all the time, especially right now, coming back into the workforce that really, rely on that connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm glad to be that for everybody.
They're so desperate. Like anybody's looking for like anybody to fill positions. But
calls this morning.
Oh my God.
For people saying, do you know anyone that's looking? Do you know anyone that is in this particular field of study? And so so you guys, did you hear that? You should send her your resume. Basically, that's what I just heard from that, because that's really, that's a really good resource. Yes. And I will post it on the job board. I will provide anyone that I have within my wheelhouse that has a need the connection. So obviously, I'm building relationships even when people are in between situations.
Yeah. What's your favorite part about your job?
The people part. I think I have so many different types of companies, but the common denominator in each one is that there's people. And whether it's a different industry or not, I just love being around people. I love helping companies grow. I love seeing owners who are coming out of recovery say that at this point our company is in a comfortable place in terms of the company culture, building and developing that. There's a lot of new trainings that I'm offering right now, and initiatives that companies want to start. They come to me and ask me to help develop them. So I just helped develop an initiative for Scorpion right here in Valencia for the diversity, inclusion, and belonging.
We're going to talk about that in a minute because that's a whole nother topic.
So those are things that I get to be a part of, and sometimes I'm part of their internal video system. So when they come in, the HR lady comes on, and they're like, "Oh, it's Selina." So I have people in the gas station like, "I saw you on a training," and so it's kind of fun to.
So you're famous in a weird way.
Yeah, I'm the training HR lady. Yes. It's a lot of fun.
We've done that when I used to work at Hyatt. It was always these like really quirky. I would love to have seen your face on some of those trainings. Like they're so outdated and old. It would have been really great. Well, I'm going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the new trainings that you said that you just developed in regards to like harassment training and cyberbullying and in like diversity. I really want to dive in a little bit more about that. We are going to take a break and hear from our sponsors, and we come back more with Selina.
How can I design something that's even bigger and better for my clients? With that question, I started exploring all these different avenues of what I thought clients really wanted from their financial advisor and started putting the pieces in place in order to make that happen. My name's Chris Ingram, and I'm the CEO and founder of Prosperitis Financial. What we're designing is something that truly isn't being done at the moment, where somebody has every piece lined up to make sure that we're advising in all aspects of somebody's financial life. We're making sure that wealth management is just a piece of it, but if we tie it all together, we're going to be more successful at helping the client reach their goals versus helping them have really good returns in the market. We're just doing a much more comprehensive style of wealth management.
At Prosperitis Financial, our planning process focuses on what's most important to you, identifying your goals for the future and addressing any obstacles standing in your way. If you're ready for your comprehensive financial plan, call Brooke Coffee at 661-255-9555, extension 120, or visit us online at prosperitisfin.com to schedule a complimentary consultation with our financial planning team.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Ask Amanda Show. I just wanted to say thank you for my sponsors. Without them, none of this would be possible. I'm truly, truly grateful for them because of our sponsors, we get to have great guests on, like Selina Thomas with 6 degrees HR consultant. Yeah, I want to mix it all up all the time, but because of her, she literally is helping so many businesses locally that I just had to have you on because there's so much conversation around outsourcing your particular services that I want to talk more about. One of them is all on the harassment training. I just put my team at the gym that I operate through sexual harassment training, and I'm going through the list. There's a bunch of harassment training that wasn't on that program a year ago. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about the types of training that you are developing for some companies, and I think why it's crucial that everybody needs to know about it.
Well, we don't have to go any further than the headlines, right? We just had Gruden resign yesterday for his conduct, for communicating in a way that was inappropriate at work. And then you have this resulting culture shock to the company. Even a large organization like the Raiders, an international brand, having to pivot and help not just recover from that kind of damage, but ultimately create policy. So think about a smaller company, not as visible, having to come back from a CEO having an inappropriate relationship or being inappropriate in his conduct at work. Not just the aftermath of that, but the policies that support the aftermath, meaning we have true reporting processes, we have zero tolerance, we have a communication process that allows everyone to feel psychologically safe. This is a good word in HR, really good. But you really need that when you're working with people, that they feel psychologically safe at work. And so it segues into bigger things like cyberbullying. Cyberbullying went up 3,000% in COVID. Why? Because people were at home.
I mean, 3,000% in 1 year. That is incredible.
In a year and a half,
Yeah.
3,000%,
They feel
because
really confident
people were
behind-
comfortable behind a keyboard, behind
right.
the phone, and then they were comfortable in their home. They were relaxed, they were loosely dressed or not dressed at all. These are types of things that people don't realize. You're still at work, you're still accountable,
Right.
and you're still impactful to someone else that you work with.
That's key.
And so in my trainings, I speak to having that mindset and accountability individually first, right? Because if that isn't there, then we can't extend it to anyone that we work with. And ultimately, it expands into the company culture.
You know, what you said a minute ago is so crucial, because I think you're right. I never would have thought of that, how people are more comfortable at home. Absolutely. And so they don't probably recognize that they are doing those behaviors.
They lose their boundaries when they're home. Everyone gets really comfortable.
I never thought of that being an issue.
Yes.
So
when I have a sales rep in Arizona that's getting a DM or instant message from a sales rep in New York who've never met, then you have this situation with two people that have never met, but we have a sexual harassment claim. That's the type of pattern that happened and emerged over this crisis.
Yeah.
Was that people were shuttered, and so they lose their boundaries.
So let's talk about preventing that. So you help companies develop policies around preventing that, and then you train the team, their team.
Because back to what I said earlier, it's a mindset. So the mindfulness comes from the infrastructure. So there's a policy, right? There's a training that's tied to that policy. And then there's the protocols. There's the process. If it does happen to you, what do we do? We've seen those campaigns before where it's like, if this happens, call 1-800-SELINA.
Selina.
But in this
I don't
case,
think that's her real phone number, but we will put it on here soon. Yeah.
well, in you know, in the context of creating a campaign for people to have awareness, that makes a difference. And so that's the strategic partnership that we spoke to earlier about what my specialty is, because not having that and just giving you a policy and hoping that it works and grows like these flowers.
But if they've got questions, who are they? They need to call you to understand.
So there's a collaborative that's ongoing. And so when they realize that, which is why the growth happened for me, when they realize that that partnership is going to be ongoing because their existence counts on their people, then I got you, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to stay a partner to you.
Yeah, and as a business owner, I mean, I would imagine that's incredible relief to feel like, okay, hold on, I don't know the answer to that. Let me reach out to my
Defer
HR.
to Selina. Defer to 6 degrees.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But that's part of it. I mean,
and some of it is truly just processing the crisis and helping the owner realize, like, how did it evolve? So we're doing a little bit of debriefing after too, so that we can avoid it happening. Besides the things that I put in place compliance-wise, what happened? How are we structured that
this
we
came up in the
that
first
this
place.
happened? And so we're doing a lot of kind of like, you know, like the NTSB and the plane crashes, and you kind of see the NTSB walking through and like, oh, it was this screw right here, and it made the panel fall off, and now we had an explosion. So we go back and we do some of that, and that's the strategic part that you spoke to.
That nobody would really know how to do.
You wouldn't even think about doing.
That's right.
Yeah. So we have to find out why.
Yeah. So talk to me about what other type of, like we talked about diversity and inclusion, like talk to me about that. That's a new topic that has been not
You're hearing
too new,
that
but
quite often, and sometimes as a result of larger social issues that we've seen. So this process coming out of COVID resulted in social issues being at the forefront.
Yeah.
And then a rise in sexual harassment. So those things collided for me,
And
which
bullying,
is what I
think
specialize
all three
in.
of those things
Absolutely
came from that. Yeah.
And so you now have all of these things that were maybe not as prevalent being very prevalent in a workplace. And think about trying to be profitable and productive with these things happening, with them constantly being
it's somebody else's
one
job.
thing or another. Hello, 6 degrees, HR
Right.
consultant.
Shameless plug, but needed.
But these are the things that people don't think about that I specialize in, and so it becomes really an organic process. Like they thought they called me for the handbook, but then they realized they needed me for this, and then they realized that, oh my gosh, I looked at my employee files and the things that you asked me for, I don't even have them. So now we need to delve there. So it's going to always be an evolution, and then it's just like the Golden Gate Bridge. You finish painting it, and then you get to the end and you got to start painting it again, right?
Yeah,
You're like,
because it's
okay,
starting,
now it's time to do our annual training.
That's what I was going to say, is that obviously there's certain things that people should be doing probably quarterly. I mean, on a daily basis, probably with,
Maintenance.
their maintenance, but on every quarter and then annually. So like as your company grows and changes, these policies and procedures needed to be updated.
Mandates happen every
That's
year.
Right. That's right. And then, but also like your company could go from, 25 employees, which
300.
you're exactly right. So, if you have one of these old employee handbooks that hasn't been refreshed in a while, which we call it the Bible.
It is. That's the first thing
let's pause on that, because I do want to talk more about the employee handbook in a minute. But all this training and all that stuff. So would there be sections of that in there in your employee handbook that then you would go back and train on?
So there's sections that defer to it, but then you have a whole subsection of binders that relate to that. So a safety binder, then you have a protocol for OSHA. So it extends into every aspect of the employee's work experience.
And you train on all of that. That's so remarkable. It's so helpful. Yeah. What would you say is one of the top things that companies don't do? Like, that
they should do?
Yeah, I mean, in regards to these trainings, like these annual or quarterly trainings, which one do you think that we, as small business owners, tend to fall flat on the most?
Sexual harassment, hostile work environment.
Ooh, hostile.
Yes, work environment. And they go together.
Yeah.
Right, and so you're mitigating a lot of, risk when you have these trainings. But the training is not enough. You have to have a mindset. You have to have a company culture that prescribes to that training in real life.
And so just back up a minute, you can also help a company create that culture, their core values. Yes. I mean, I bet you there's a lot of small business owners that are out here listening to this that haven't looked at their core values and the mission statement. I know it's a serious topic, but we joke because we're friends, but that haven't looked at that and revamped it since they opened.
Or realize that it's stifling their growth because they don't have it.
Yeah, well, obviously, that's a lot of them don't have it. But, you hire around those core values. You also fire around those core values. And you're right, it's a culture. So, I help companies create their mission statement, and it's part of like because it becomes part of their marketing and branding. Yeah, but on the other side of that, it's also,
as an employee, you're living that. And so what does that look like in real life? So compliance with the people part is essential, because there has to be the buy-in for that to really emerge in action.
Yeah.
So
So do you find do you do on-site training, or do you do Zoom? Like, what do you find?
So when you called me to invite me, I was doing a training at my conference room. But a lot of my clients have boardrooms that we can set up. And I'm truly a ancillary support to their operations, to somebody that is already internal, boots on the ground. And that's where I collaborate with them on how to best deliver that service.
Yeah, so it could be both. So you could be recording some videos, and then you could also be...
I just recorded ongoing videos for Scorpion here in Valencia.
Which is so great.
Yes.
Okay, well, when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about, or maybe a lot about, the employee handbook, because... the Bible. We're going to talk more about the Bible when we come back. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Selina about our employee handbook. I bet you guys don't have one. We'll see when we come back.
Hi, I'm Marlene Villa. I own Villa Promotionals. I help companies promote themselves through the use of promotional products. You want to put something out there so that you can be remembered. That name and that retention lasts so much longer on a product that client's going to use and value than just a handshake or a business card. I started Via Promotionals so that I could help companies increase their volume and retain their clients. Many of the businesses I find that we work extremely well with are municipalities, hospitals, colleges, and a lot of our larger clients will be ordering 1,000 to 5,000 items. However, they're going to maybe just need one tablecloth, or they're going to need that one award. Well, we also tailor to that. We actually take the time to make sure that that product is the one that's going to match your business and the goals that you're trying to achieve. We have great communication with our clients every step of the way. They don't have to just hope that it's going to show up that day. We're going to let them know when it's shipped and when it's supposed to be delivered. If you're looking for quality products and customer care for your business, call 661-254-4910 or email us at viapromos@yahoo.com and visit our website at viapromos.com.
Welcome back to the Ask Amanda Show. I'm sitting here with the beautiful and talented and incredibly intelligent Selina Thomas with HR or 6 Degrees HR Consulting. You're all wrapped up in one, but what we're going to dive into now is the employee handbook, because this is crucial. You're a pro at it. I would like to start off by talking about, first of all, if you don't have an employee handbook, call Selina. But you absolutely should, and from firsthand, I know why. I mean, that's the very first thing when I bring somebody on at the gym, for example, that I run. That's the first thing that they do on their first day is they sit down and they read
Orientation.
through it. Yep. Am I doing that right?
Yes.
Okay.
You're doing it right.
I want to make sure I'm doing it right.
So when you're orientating them to who you are, right, and what your standards are, what your expectations are, it's in that book.
It's in that book.
So it truly is like your company Bible.
Yeah. It also has, which we'll talk about, but it also has our safety training and our OSHA, and then we discussed when we were getting
Policies,
CPR. Yeah, okay.
your holiday pay, your sick pay.
Well, let's talk about that. So break down what should be, you guys get a note ready?
Here's the
Get your note?
absolutes.
Yeah. What should be in your employee
The
handbook?
absolutes should absolutely always be who you are as a company first.
Okay.
That introduction is essential. They're getting to know you and you're getting to know them. They're not coming with a handbook, but right? So
Right.
you're ultimately going to get to know them in that first 90 days. But your handbook is that introduction to them
Okay.
of you. And of
the
course
company.
of the
Yeah.
company.
Okay.
And then there's those absolutes that are just the best practice ones. Like we have sick pay. These are
Okay.
mandates. We do have a holiday schedule. Here it is.
Okay.
We have this policy if you're needing to take extended leave.
Okay.
We have this policy in terms of discipline and attendance.
Okay.
Those are those things that they defer to because they're not going to see you every day.
Right.
They're kind of going into what their role is.
Yeah.
But there's something that they can refer to. Like,
So-
oh, I never thought about it. If I need bereavement.
So on that, I have my question. Do they get a copy of it, or do you just keep one at the accessible for everybody? What do
They
you
should
recommend?
Absolutely have a full copy. It's best to give it digital. I
Okay.
think because you're updating it so much,
Okay.
giving it digitally and saving the trees is important. We
Right,
don't
right.
need to give an 85-page book
Yes.
to everyone.
Yeah.
And especially because attrition and turnover, think about printing that
Yeah,
and
I
then
agree.
someone throws it in the back of their
Yeah.
car.
I just keep one at the front desk at the gym.
And that's a
that
good
they can
reference
refer.
to have
Okay.
one that's kind of like that one
Yeah.
in-house, but give them one electronically so
Okay.
that on a day off where they're not
You
there
guys,
and
are you
can't
writing
get
this
to it,
down?
they can't get to it because they're not working, but they need to know a policy
Yeah.
related. I just had this happen, true story. Young lady on a Sunday contacted me wanting to know what the bereavement policy is, but because we had sent it to her digitally, she could defer
it up.
to
Okay.
the email when she was introduced to the company and can go to that and go, okay, here's the policy.
Yeah.
So, making that request, it's in there.
Okay. So what else should be in that employee handbook?
Do we offer benefits like medical
Okay.
and dental?
Okay.
Are we that company that gives you X amount of time off with maternity?
Okay.
A lot of things related to
Retirement
how,
plans or anything?
not necessarily,
No?
because
Okay.
that benefit book is going to be when they get their
Different- yes.
information,
Okay.
but more about how and what and when they should do it. So if they've finished their probation, there's an expectation that an annual review will happen.
Okay.
That's in there. Code of conduct is an absolute. That's in
Yes,
there.
okay.
Dress code.
Yep.
What is our policy on cell phones? What is our policy on the computer, on the internet, on our email? Those are all there. Those are the rules and guidelines that we ask them to live by and that we've created specifically. We don't want a cookie cutter kind of handbook, right?
Yeah.
I've had, true story, I've had a gentleman say, I don't need a handbook. This is when I'm networking and trying to help people understand why they need a handbook. He's like, I have a handbook. And 3 weeks later, called me and said, I got this lawsuit and they're wanting my handbook and they kicked it back to me. So he was in manufacturing. The handbook that he Googled was for medical. So don't
didn't
Google
address-
guess your handbook. Not a good idea.
Yeah.
Because anyone that is regulating you, right, is going to defer to that as what the employee had.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have it in a heavily litigious state like California, guess what happens to the employer?
Right.
So it really does come back to what you provided the employee as a guide to who you are and what the rules are.
Listen, Selina, this is the point of you being on the show today, because I don't know that a lot of these small business owners that listen or watch the Ask Amanda show actually have these in place, and or if they do, they haven't updated them in God knows how long. And I think you have a story about a gentleman.
Yes. So
got you.
true story.
Yeah.
So best practices, to your point, is that you update this handbook once a year
Okay.
because the mandates change annually.
And is that
usually
something that-
around January 1?
Is that something that they should do with you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you would give me your old one. We would update it. We would talk about the things that you want to include because maybe you've grown.
Right.
You're now offering vacation. You're now offering, certain employee perks. That would be there.
Or maybe the wardrobe has changed or whatever.
Now we have uniforms.
Yes,
Whatever that is.
Okay.
But true story, gentlemen wanted to hire me for services. The first thing I do is kind of an overall assessment, of where they're at. I'm meeting them where they're at, trying to figure out how to move them into the 21st century.
Where they need to be.
And this gentleman literally gave me a handbook that was from like 1984. It was clearly typed, and the paper was falling apart.
And she means on a typewriter, you guys, old school typed.
And this is in 2016.
Yeah.
And so there was an expectation that his employees be using, the handbook
Those
from
policies.
1984, right? Some of them had not been born yet.
Well, there probably wasn't even anything about their, email or cell phone use or anything.
It's the latest and greatest, right, of who you are as a company. So if you think about your evolution as a company, it's probably improved over the year, right?
Yeah.
Or not. If you're smaller, then you want to reduce certain things, right? And some things aren't even applicable to you anymore at a certain size.
Yeah.
And so we've had that happen.
It goes to be said too, like, you could be shrinking your business and you need things to be tighter and, maybe roles have changed. Okay.
I love that you said that.
Yeah.
There are a lot of companies that went from being in-house to being remote. And so the whole process of accessing your employees and expectations is different. So they had to restructure their handbook for the remote worker.
Right.
And there's different guidelines to that.
Yeah.
And what are you allowed to say? Are you required to be on camera when you're on a meeting? What access do I have to your home office in terms of tapping into your computer and you working remotely? And even
you guys, this is really helpful.
so we've evolved, and so your handbook has to evolve.
Hey, so that's a good point. I'm going to talk about how you've evolved. How do you keep up on all of these new mandates and laws employers should house?
So I'm a PHR and I'm a SHRM CP. Those are the professional HR human resource credentials that are best practice to have. Separate from an employment attorney, right? Our friends at Poole, Sheffer, and Kegley.
Right.
Then you have someone like a PHR SHRM CP. Those credentials require me to get CEUs annually, 80 CEUs. That means that's where I'm keeping up.
Yeah.
Those CEUs, continuing education units, I should say, is where I get the latest mandates.
Okay.
I don't need that requirement to, as a good practitioner, get the information. I'm ahead in CEUs because I'm engaged as a practitioner in so many different elements of people's companies.
And you're not just local, right? That's not just for
so
California.
My credentials, I actually practice nationally because a lot of my clients left California.
Right.
Because, and this is before COVID, but since COVID,
because
also,
a lot of the laws around
it's very
doing
difficult
business
to do business in California.
Yeah.
And I live here, so I'm not saying anything negative about California, but I do know that if you're a small business, certain things make a difference. And for some, it was survival, and it was about getting to a place that was advantageous for them as a company.
Yeah. So that's great. So your credentials help you keep updated.
Sold their house.
Yeah.
Kept 6 degrees.
Well, why would they get rid of you? I don't know why.
I've been doing a lot of Zooming this year because of my clients that are in Nevada. I've had some go as far as back east to Florida. So now that requires me also to know what's happening in other states.
I was going to say, so do you take those?
Absolutely. So those states have different, right to work, right? Or at will, which you hear in California. So my credential allows me to practice in those other states, but I have to know those because those policies are different for a right to work state versus at will.
Okay. I mean, obviously, yeah, but that's incredible. Like, look
and
how
it's not so
talented she is.
obvious to small business owner who
Yeah.
ultimately could have a labor issue because they're not aware of those.
You know what I'm just thinking? So, like, if a small business was looking to leave, they would probably consult with you first, because you would have like those abilities to be able to guide them through the
Adjust your
process.
handbook, make
Yeah.
adjustments to your policies, workforce reduction, right?
Yeah.
You're offering your employees an opportunity to continue to work remotely, even though headquarters is in Texas.
Right.
You know, so now we have a different engagement as an employer-employee.
Right.
So there's a lot of different, I mean, and some of this doesn't have to be negative. It could be, you know, we want a headquarters somewhere else because that's where we're going to retire, but we love that our California employees can still stay here and do our work.
We're not losing them. Their talent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just have a few different locations now, and so making that adjustment for each location is part of how I'm a strategic partner.
Right, strategic partner.
Absolutely.
If you would like. Just kidding. No, I think that that's very helpful to even understand, because I wouldn't know where to begin when you're looking to, I don't know, just either have growth like that where you might be changing state, or trying to reduce it. Well, when we come back, I want to chat with you a little bit more about I just have a couple more questions that I'm going to throw you really quick, but then you can tell everybody else where they can find you. Yeah, lightning round. Where everybody else can get a hold of you, because I think that's crucial here, even though we've been dropping jokes the whole time around it. And then we're going to flip the script and you get to ask Amanda a couple questions. So when we come back from a word from our sponsors.
As business owners and professionals, you have so much on your plate. You never stop to think about your headshots, marketing video, or personal branding until you need it now. Then you're scrambling to figure out what to wear, how to match your brand, what to say, how to reach your target audience, and how to use your visuals in a way that actually makes an impact in your marketing.
You quickly realize you don't have any of the answers because you're not supposed to. You're not a professional marketer, model, or TV personality. You're an executive who needs efficiency, superior quality, and a little direction. You also want to feel good when you step in front of the camera, and maybe even have a little bit of fun too.
Hi, this is Brian and Lindsay Schlick with SchlickArt Photography and Video. We provide professional headshots, marketing photography, business videos, video subscriptions, and more to help you market your business with compelling visuals and a streamlined experience. We guide you through the process every step of the way, so you can feel your best on camera and make the biggest impact in your marketing.
Visit SchlickArt.com to see how we can help you take your brand to the next level and look good while doing it.
Welcome back to the Ask Amanda Show. I'm sitting here with Selina Thomas with 6 Degrees HR Consulting. She is SCV's HR guru, and she literally just shared a bunch of information. If you're just catching this at the end, go back. Just go back and rewind, get your notepad out, because she's given us a lot of information to think about. Please, some of the questions I wanted to ask you was, aren't you doing a little podcast of your own?
I am.
Okay.
It's actually Selina Thomas, SCV's HR guru on the Signal. And I actually love to do the stories behind companies and the people, you know, behind those stories. And learning how people got into the business that they're doing, kind of what you're asking me now. And most of it is relevant to probably the current headline or what's happening in our community, and it typically ties together. I usually don't have to go that far to find content. And so of late, I've been doing things that obviously people can connect to, and we're getting back out, and so helping people, you know, meet the people behind whatever that project is. Or
what's your favorite part about doing the podcast?
Probably the people just telling me, funny story, I was at a gas station and this gentleman was behind me and he was like, "Are you that gal?" And I was like, I didn't know how to answer that because I wasn't, you never know your reach, right?
Yeah, totally.
And so I think my favorite part was finding out that there was a reach in that. And he goes, "I watch your show. I love my wife and I watch your show."
Oh, that's great.
And I went to the restaurant that you featured, and because I knew restaurants, and it was about La Cocina, one of my clients. And them coming.
La Cocina.
La Cocina, yes. And so he's like, you made me hungry to go eat, and I wanted to get back out. And that was really the purpose of the show, is to help people, you know, hear the story behind.
It's in alignment with why you started your business, is that you love to help people and you love people. I love it when I get recognized. They're like, "Oh, hi, Ask Amanda." I'm like, "Oh, actually, it's just Amanda." But that's That's fine. Well, why don't you let people know where they can connect with you? Because I know that they're going to need your services for the employee handbook just alone, but also for the trainings and stuff. It's going to be crucial.
Definitely. Selina Thomas, I actually have a website, 6degreeshrconsulting.com. And on there, you'll get my email, my contact number. Perfect. I do daily videos. If you follow me, Selina Thomas, on Facebook, Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. I literally do daily videos because when at the height of COVID, we couldn't connect with people. And so I just made myself essential. And I did videos on everything. And so it just became habitual and daily. And then I'd have people say, I haven't seen the video yet. What's the tip today? And so you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. And so I've learned how to tweet now.
I love that. I highly recommend you guys connecting with her either on Facebook or LinkedIn or anything else, but she is on Facebook a lot, and it really is an insight to who she is as a person. What you see here today is exactly who she is, and I think that you will want to befriend her, but also hire her for her services, because you can tell, like we were talking off camera about how some HR people are just very stiff and stale, and they're not friendly, and I would love for have this to have been my HR person when I was working in corporate. No offense to that lady, because she is very nice too, but
the people part's first for me, and I think that's why even in tough decisions that I've had to make, even parting ways with someone, they've been respectful of that process because I've been respectful to them. And we just have gotten to this place, and it was never a difficult thing, even if they were at odds with the decision. I've had a gentleman walk out and go, okay, now that you're not my HR lady, can I take you to dinner? I'm like, no. No,
inappropriate.
So, this is why we're at this decision now, because I'm not acting right. So, I get to meet people, and I get to, and I've had people just say, you know what, I'm glad I learned this valuable lesson having gone through this experience, and it was a teachable moment for me, and so.
I love it. I really can tell that you love what you do. Absolutely. You are 100% doing what God has made you to do. I believe that. For sure. Yeah, I believe that. All right, well, here comes the fun part. At least, hopefully, we'll see. But we're going to flip the script where you get to ask Amanda.
This is red table over to me.
This is the Ask Amanda show, so go ahead, fire away.
I really love to do this with anyone, but I've always wanted to know this about you. Like, what is a fun fact about Amanda?
Oh, boy, is he.
That people wouldn't know. You really extend yourself to people, so this is that thing that people would be like, wow, I wouldn't have never thought that about her.
A fun fact, though, so okay. Yeah. I don't think people know this about me, but when I work out, this is silly, and you would think I would be in a much better shape when I work out, because I work out a lot, but I like wine, so whatever, it's a balance. But when I work out, I prefer to watch YouTube videos, those reels of athletes just doing their thing, like dunking or like hitting the goal. Yes, right. I love watching that. It's so motivating. Yeah. It's so dumb. I love to watch documentaries on just while I'm working out. I feel like it just pushes me. Yeah, these guys are like crazy. Like, I love watching basketball documentaries, and I don't think anybody would know that about me.
No, not a basketball documentary.
I love it. Basketball is my
But goofy YouTube videos, I would totally guess. But
but I like watching these guys lift the heaviest and they do that. I love watching those.
Someone has to come up behind her with a camera
when I work out. I don't behave that way, but it motivates me.
Good. Whatever you got to do to get through, right?
Yeah,
I like that. And you asked me the same question, but really, what is the favorite part of what you do?
I definitely love helping people, but the favorite thing for me is when it clicks for them. So when I've helped them, they come to me with a problem, and I've developed a solution that would work for them. And when they go, that's how you, and it's like the way that their face lights up, and a lot of you know who you are, because I'm like, here comes my favorite part, and it's like really on their face. Like, that's why I love doing this.
Oh, yeah. And then of course the next one is like, where do you get your energy to do that, right?
I don't know, you guys. I'm really wired. I'm just high strung. I don't know what you want to say. I only have 1 cup of coffee a day. I don't drink energy drinks. I don't. I mean, could you imagine what I would be like if I would? I'd probably have heart palpitations. But I get a lot of sleep.
Have you always been that way?
Yes,
Always
I'm always
Your second grade teacher would say, Amanda was like
the
that
most
in
talkative
second
person
grade."
in class. The most talkative person in class. Yeah. And then I would be running, you know, on the playground. I'd be like, hey, this is what we're going to do. Round everybody up.
Not surprising.
I get a lot of sleep and I drink a lot of water. And that's how I can maintain the energy.
And if you could do anything different in life or business, what would it be? Because clearly you love doing what you're doing. Could you ever see yourself doing something else?
I don't know. I thought when I was in school that I would become a teacher, which is kind of what I do. I mean, I teach people things. I actually took child development courses at College of the Canyons, and that you have to do some in-person training, and it was in a kindergarten class, and I hated it. Because I was like, they don't listen. No, they just don't listen. So it was like, it wasn't for me. And so I changed my major. I got out of it. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I would be a teacher. Because I just feel like that's still, of much taller people.
That's super funny. So if there was a person, because you've been so great to reach out, and I want to thank you for being on the show.
Of course. Thank you for being
here. Such a fun opportunity. And of course, anytime I can hang out with you, I'll jump on it. But if there was a person outside of this local community, would you interview someone outside of?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
who would that be?
So she mentioned this question to me earlier in the week. And when I read that question, this face popped in my mind. Which was unique. And then about 10 minutes later, I had her on the phone and I discussed with her what I thought the show would be like. And I asked her if she would be on it and she said yes. So so thank you to that. And before I leave the SchlickArt studio today, I'm going to try to get some dates from them.
It's like a surprise guest.
And book her. It's not really a surprise guest. No, but my point is I wouldn't have thought of her if you didn't ask me that question. And it's kind of like a no-brainer. So I'm very thankful that you asked me that question because, and I don't always know what these questions are, but her and I were chatting and this question came up and I was like, just saw it. And I think it's going to be a great story and a great opportunity to talk about some, being a woman in business for as many years as she's been. And I'm just successful. And I'm very excited to have her on. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yes,
so anyways, Selina.
Yes.
No more questions, right? Thank you so much for being on the show.
So much fun.
I just appreciate you and your energy and your talent and I really truly hope that you guys all, had a lot of insight to not only HR services, like human resources services and why you need them, but also to Selina, because that's the whole point of today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for watching another episode of the Ask Amanda Show.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Do you have a topic you'd love to hear about? Or is there something you want to ask Amanda? Make sure to comment below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel so you get a notification whenever we post new videos.